Hello and welcome to my presentation on navigating the intricate world of negotiations within the Japanese business landscape. Today we will journey through the delicate interplay of tradition, respect and strategy that defines the art of negotiation in Japan. To fully grasp the nuance of this art, we will break down our discussion into 6 comprehensive segments. We'll start this cultural exploration off by setting the cultural context, then dissect Japanese negotiation traits, delve into the differentiation and establishment of relationships, navigate through solution finding, manage exchange and conflict, and finally distill our insight into best practices. Japan stands as a beacon of globalization's transformative power, within its vast economic influence and distinctive blend of tradition and modernity. As the world's 4th largest economy, owning big brands like Toyota, Sony and Honda, it offers a fertile ground for business interactions shaped by deep-rooted practices and values. To engage effectively within this powerful market, a deep dive into the specific traits of Japanese negotiation culture is imperative. So let's uncover these traits and understand how they influence the art of negotiation in Japan. Japan exhibits high levels of in-group collectivism, indicating that loyalty to the group and group cohesion are favoured over individual achievements. This can affect negotiation strategies where decisions are group-orientated and individual ambitions may be downplayed for the collective good. With power distance being relatively high, there's an implicit respect for hierarchical structures. This suggests that during negotiations there is an expectation that one should defer to the higher status individuals. The medium score in uncertainty avoidance points to a balanced approach towards risk. Japanese negotiators may not be highly risk-averse, but they would likely prefer structured negotiation processes with fewer surprises, valuing predictability and meticulous planning. The relatively low score in assertiveness indicates a tendency towards indirect communication. In negotiations, this could mean a preference for non-confrontational dialogue and a greater emphasis on harmony and face saving. Understanding these traits is key to navigating the complex waters of negotiation, which starts with differentiation and establishing relationship. Indirect communication is preferred in Japanese culture, so negotiators should be adept to interpreting non-verbal cues and be comfortable with indirect approaches when discussing issues. When information sharing, expect formal structured exchanges with meticulously prepared documentation, reflecting Japan's high context communication style. When seeking information, you should anticipate subtle inquiries where silence may be used strategically to prompt further disclosure by a negotiating party. When building relationships, prioritize social engagements as a means to forge a solid negotiation relationship, which may precede formal business discussions. Approach with patience and respect the methodical Japanese approach that prioritizes understanding and trust building before discussing substantive business matters. Thoroughly share information and prepare detailed and well-organized materials to present during negotiations, reflecting a deep respect for due diligence and attention to detail. And when interpreting cues, develop a keen sensitivity to non-verbal communication, which is often as telling as the spoken word in the Japanese context. To sum this up, negotiations with Japanese parties typically commence with a focus on indirect communication and relationship building. Information is shared meticulously with detailed presentations preferred over broad outlines. It is common to engage in social activities prior to formal negotiations to build a foundation of trust. As such, negotiators should be prepared to interpret non-verbal cues, recognize the importance of silence, and prioritize relationship building. Now let's see how these aspects play out in an actual negotiation scenario. I'll illustrate this with a practical example of initiating a partnership with a Japanese firm. When having the initial contact, instead of jumping straight into business, start by discussing shared interest or mutual acquaintances. You might say, I heard you're interested in sustainable technologies. We've also been exploring this area. When exchanging information, you could present your company's data and proposals through detailed documents and presentations, ensuring they are carefully structured and clear. And when it comes to social interactions, you could arrange a dinner or a tea ceremony before any formal meetings to discuss potential business, using this time to understand their company culture and build a rapport. During interactions, you could pay close attention to Japanese counterparts' body language and in pauses through conversation, which may convey as much as their words. Post-differentiation, it would be wise to reflect on the initial meetings in your follow-up communications. You might follow up with a message that says, "Thank you for your insightful discussion today. I believe our shared values lay a strong foundation for future collaboration." Having set the stage through differentiation, we now move to the exploration phase, where solutions come to life. This starts with harmony, as it is paramount, and suggestions should align with group values and consensus. When introducing novel ideas, do this in a respectful manner, showing an appreciation for collective wisdom and a shared vision. When presenting ideas, do this subtly and allow time for reflection, avoiding the pressure of immediate responses. Favour group-orientated discussions that seek consensus and collective agreement rather than pushing individual agendas. To sum this up, the exploration phase in Japanese negotiations emphasises harmony and consensus. Creativity and insights that honour both parties' interests are highly valued, and suggestions are to be presented gently, often as questions to facilitate group discussion. Patience is key, as Japanese negotiators value thorough reflection on suggestions rather than immediate decisions. When suggestions don't align, they are not outright rejected, but rather met with requests for more time or subtle indications of doubt. Let's apply this understanding to negotiating a joint venture, demonstrating the finesse required in the exploration phase. Begin with open-ended questions about their long-term business vision. For example, how do you see this joint venture evolving over the next 5 years? Foster a collaborative atmosphere by inviting the Japanese team to share their perspectives. Acknowledge their insights and weave them into the proposed solutions. If proposing a new marketing strategy for the joint venture, phrase it tentatively. You could say, could a marketing approach that blends our branding strategies potentially enhance market penetration? If the Japanese side hesitates on a suggestion, don't press for immediate closure. Instead, offer to explore the idea further. We understand the need for reflection on this. Would it be helpful if we provided a more detailed analysis? Post-exploration, after the meeting, summarize the points of consensus and send a follow-up note. For example, following our discussion, we agree that combining our technological expertise with your local market knowledge could lead to a compelling product offering. Let's consider how we could develop this concept together. Next, we move on to the final stage of exchange and conflict management. With a foundation of understanding and potential solutions in place, we offer the decisive phase of exchange and conflict management. Japanese negotiators typically approach concession making with caution, gradually building towards agreements while maintaining harmony. They avoid direct confrontation and approach disagreements with a focus on discrete, non-confrontational problem solving. When gradual concessions are being made, they engage in a measured approach of concession making, where subtle incremental gestures are valued over broad immediate concessions. When avoiding direct confrontation, they emphasize this by harmonious conflict resolution strategies that respect the Japanese preference for non-confrontational measures and saving face. To sum this up, the exchange phase is characterized by a slow, deliberate process of concession making with a strong preference for non-confrontational conflict resolution. Negotiators should anticipate a gradual process and be ready to recognize and reciprocate subtle concessions. Direct conflict is to be avoided with a focus on harmonious problem solving and a willingness to consider alternative approaches. When negotiating concessions, one should look beyond single issues, considering the broader context of the partnership and long-term strategy. This careful dance of give and take is central to Japanese negotiation. Let's break down its essence. To contextualize this phase further, consider the example of negotiating a machine supply deal, which we could start by a cordial introduction, showing respect for the Japanese delegation's hierarchy. Do this by presenting your case with well-structured information and allowing room for contemplation. When building rapport, engage in non-business discussions to foster a trusting relationship. If the Japanese party raises a concern about the machine's capability with their systems, don't be hasty to counter. Instead, listen and acknowledge their concerns. When making slow concessions, suppose there's an impasse due to costs. Instead of pushing for an immediate discount, suggest a phased approach. For instance, we understand the investment is significant. Perhaps we could explore a gradual payment plan that aligns with your utilization rates. When managing conflict, if a disagreement arises, like a delivery timeline, refrain from confrontation. You might say, "We see the timeline as a pressing issue. Let's explore how we can adjust our processes to meet your schedule." Look at the long-term strategy. You could do this by looking beyond the deal at hand. You could say, "We're committed to supporting your company's growth, and as our partnership develops, we'd be keen to discuss maintenance, support, and future upgrades." You could reference a past situation where gradual negotiations led to a positive outcome. For instance, in a previous partnership with a Japanese firm, we found that mutually developed training programs for the staff not only eased the adoption of our machinery, but also strengthened our long-term relationship. Through these examples, we've seen the principles of Japanese negotiation in action. Now let's reflect on what this means for future engagements. In closing, our exploration reveals that negotiation with the Japanese business milieu transcends contractual dealings. It's a nuanced art form deeply rooted in cultural principles of mutual respect, group harmony, and patient strategy. These practices aren't just tactics, but the embodiment of a philosophy that intertwines business with the respect for human relationships. As we partake in these practices, remember that harmony and respect are essential in every interaction, providing the foundation for all negotiations. And that patience and thoughtful silence are powerful tools that reflect wisdom and consideration. Emotional restraint is crucial for maintaining faith and building rapport. And progressive trust building through incremental concessions is important as we pave the way for future collaboration. Consensus-orientated decisions is good for crafting win-win scenarios that foster lasting relationships. Now let us carry forth these principles, not only as a framework for successful negotiations, but as a bridge to build lasting cross-cultural relationships that go beyond mere transactions. Thank you for joining me on this insightful journey into the heart of Japanese negotiation culture. May we all embrace these lessons and carry them into our negotiations, remembering that the most profound connections are often forged in the quietest moments. Thank you.